In this video, we are going to take a look at the hands-on equations model and the technique for either adding zero pairs or adding pawns, and how do we decide when we want to do which. So remember, sometimes you're going to be told to use one or the other, and other times you get to choose your own path. So when you look at a problem, you do need to understand what the options are giving you as far as the path you're going to follow. So here's an example. We've got star plus 2 star, so we have 3 star on the left and a positive 8, and on the right we have an X or blue pawn. Now at this point we know we have different kinds of pawns, and we need to have just a single single kind of pawn. And so if we could, we'd love to not have these on this side, so we have just this number cube, and then we have all the pawns on this other side. If we add 3 blue pawns to both sides, then these would add to 0, and over here we get 4 pawns, and that's equal 8. If we add 0 pairs, then over here we could add 3 0 pairs. The 3 white pawns would then, with legal move number 1, be subtracted from both sides, and you'd still end up with 4 pairs. Let's go ahead and walk through both of those scenarios. So here we go. We've got white pawn, 2 white pawns, and an 8, and on the other side a blue pawn. We're asked to add 0 pairs for the technique for this particular problem. This is the setup. This side comes along for the ride, and the blue pawn. Now on this side we're going to add 3 0 pairs, which is legal move number 5. And when we do that, then we are allowed to take away from both sides. So let's go ahead and reset, because I wrote on both sides there so that you can see what's happening. So we have 4 blue pawns, 3 white ones. So we are going to remove 3 white pawns from each side, which gives us then 4 blue pawns is equal to 8, or blue pawn is equal to X is equal to 2, white pawn is equal to star is equal to -2, and you need to do your check, and we can do that mentally. Here we have -2 plus 2 times -2 is -6, plus 8 is +2, and on the right hand side X is 2, so we have 2 equals 2. So you need to run through that check to get that. So our final answer is sitting here. Now let's take a look at this instead of with 0 pairs, just adding pawns. When we do that, we are still starting here with the 3 white pawns on the one side and the blue pawn on the other side. So now we're going to add an equal number of pawns. Sorry, that's not working very well. So let's go ahead and add 3 blue pawns to both sides. We do that, and remember your arrows. We're going to add them over here as well. We're doing that so that we can then take away, and we have to rewrite or reset this before we take away. Remember, you can't have 2 steps with the same thing with arrows heading out. The reason why we added those pawns to the left-hand side was that so we could remove 0 pairs. And when you do that, then we get 8 and 4 blue pawns on the other side, which is exactly what we had last time. So blue pawn equals X equals 2, white pawn equals star equals -2, and see the previous check that we just did. Now I'd like you to try this example. Try it adding 0 pairs and then try it by adding pawns to both sides. Please pause the video, do that, come back and check your work. So on the left we have 2 blue pawns. On the right we have a 6 and a white pawn. Now we can add 0 pairs. Remember, we want this value to be by itself when we're done, the number cube. So we're going to have the variables on the left and the number cube on the right. We have to get rid of this white pawn. So let's add a 0 pair to the left side. So we just added this. Add 0 pair. And now we can reset. So we have 1, 2, 3 blue pawns and a white, 6 and a white. And now we are going to remove equal number of pawns. And when we do that, on the left we get 3 blue pawns, and on the right we got a 6. So that's telling us that blue pawn equals x equals 2, and white pawn equals star equals -2. We need to do a check, and so 2 times 2 is 4, and on the right 6 plus a -2 is 4. And so you have to actually show the work for that, but we do get that our check does work, and our answer is 2 and -2, adding 0 pairs. Now let's do it with adding pawns to both sides. Adding an equal number of pawns. So 2 blue pawns, 6 and a white pawn on the right, and we want to add 1 blue pawn to both sides. That's this reason here. So we're going to add the blue pawn to both sides. Reset. And remove 0 pair. And that gives us blue pawn is 6. Sorry, box that guy. 6. So blue pawn equals x equals 2, white pawn equals star equals -2, and the check, see the previous for that answer. So I hope you did well on both of those. Now here's a more complicated one. You do need to, when you set this up, you're going to put 3 blue pawns down, and then you have to get rid of a white pawn, but you don't have a white pawn on the left side. This is going to require you to add a 0 pair during the setup so that you can take this away. And then on the right hand side, that one's okay. It's just 2 white pawns and a 10. So pause the video, see what you can do with this, then come back and hear the solution. So here we go. We have 3 blue pawns. We need to remove a white pawn, which we don't have, so we have to add a 0 pair in, and then we're going to take that white pawn out, and then, sorry, changing colors, are 4, and on the right hand side, white pawn, 10. Looks a little ugly. You're adding a 0 pair here so that you can take that white pawn away. Now let's reset. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 blue pawns on the left and a 4 on the right, white pawn, 10. So now we're back to the issue we had before, where we were told that you had to either use 0 pairs or use adding extra pawns to figure out how to get those white pawns and blue pawns to only be one kind of pawn. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and use 0 pairs. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to add 2 0 pair, and then the 4 blue pawns come along for the ride. The right-hand side comes along for the ride, and let's indicate here that we're adding a 0 pair. Reset. We have 2 white pawns, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue pawns on the left. Okay, now let's remove those white pawns. When we do, so it's remove an equal number of pawns. That gives us then six blue pawns and a 4, and on the right a 10. Let's go ahead and substitute. I am just about to run out of room here, and so we are substituting. I'm going to squeeze it in here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and a 4. On the right, a 4 and a 6. And then legal move number 2, which is going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue pawns on the left and a 6 on the right. And so our answer is blue pawn equals x equals 1, white pawn equals star equals -1, and you need to do a check. I am definitely out of room now. And so for this one, we've got a couple more steps to do, but you can add those 0 pairs. Of course, you can do it with adding equal number of pawns to both sides as well. Here you go. Try this one. Pause the video and try it, and then come on back. We have 4 white pawns on the left. We need to take 2 away according to the setup. And then plus a 2 cube. On the right, we need a 9. And then we need to take away a blue pawn, but we don't have one. So we're going to have to add in a 0 pair. And then we're going to need to take away that x as part of the setup. So what that gives us is 2 white pawns and a 2 on the left, and a 9 and a white pawn on the left. At this point, we can legal move number 1, take away equal number of pawns from both sides. So we get white and a 2, and on the right, a 9. So now we need to substitute so that we can remove that 2 from the left. So let's substitute a 7 and a 2 on the right. And then, legal move number 2. Then on the left, you're left with a white cube, and on the right, a 7. So let's go ahead and put our solution. White cube equals star equals 7. Blue cube equals x equals -7. We have to do a check for this one. Let's go ahead and walk through that since the signs are different on this one. So 4 times star is 4 times 7 is 28. Minus 14 is 14 plus 2 is 16. And then 9 minus a -7. So 9 plus 7 is 16. And that check works. So you need to put your work, but then that one is equal. Last one, let's go ahead and do an evaluation problem. If x equals 2, then star equals -2, and that gives us 2 times -2 plus 3 times -2 plus x, which is 2, plus 10. 2 times -2 is -4. 3 times -2 is -6 plus 2 plus 10. So we get -10 plus 2 plus 10, -8 plus 10, and we get 2. So that's it. Hope you're having a great day.